This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory and Mosley.
Taking it seriously.
Oh, now we are recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
No names.
Gotta be careful what you say off of that mic there, buddy.
No names, no names.
They call that hot mic. Many of careers have been canceled over a hot mic.
Nope.
But we know we are recording now because we've got lights going off telling us that. And you are in the right place. If you came to listen to the Grow Business Podcast, you have arrived.
Welcome.
I'm your host, Cory Mosley. I'm joined today by LG007. Lon Graham is in the house.
Good to see you.
Woo!
Woo.
It's exciting. Still trying to get that to go, that clap to go just a little longer. It sounds real abrupt. We want it to be almost, Willie H is here also, like it's a studio audience. Like as if the studio audience said, no, go ahead, give yourself. You were going to hit the button, Willie H. Go ahead, Willie H is in the house. Yeah, there you go. That used to be on my TV days. That used to be my horn.
Oh,
When I
okay.
would come on, they would introduce me on the morning show. They would hit the horn button.
Oh, I remember. I think I do remember that.
Yeah, so thankfully that's public domain. So we have taken the horn. They don't own it.
We've embraced it.
Yeah, we've embraced it.
Right.
We've embraced the horn. You're in for another great show today. Lon has been trying to ascertain what the topic is. But
I asked.
Yeah, he did ask. He asked. He leaned in a little bit. I saw him. I was looking at my phone. If you're watching this on YouTube, I was looking at my phone a little bit, and he kind of had a lean. I had to retilt the laptop just so he couldn't get it there. Because all it is notes here. It's not even the topic itself. So it really wasn't going to give it away. But if you're just joining us, hello. If you're listening to us for the first time, we're super excited, super happy to have you. It's so exciting watching. We were just looking at some of our stats before I was sharing some stuff with the team before we started recording. At our growth, adding listeners every week, more people coming, getting some great content, or I should say, some great feedback. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Great news indeed.
Yeah, just a really exciting time, and because again, we're all on this journey. We're all on this journey together. Really, as we say, we're not here to be your gurus or anything like that. We just want to share some things that have potentially worked for us or working for us now, and some of the positives, some of the negatives. Not everything goes right. So just really give you a perspective and try to entertain you a little bit. We've got some interesting stories. We've seen some things. We've heard some things, and we want to be of value and we want to be of help. So we appreciate your listenership, your viewership if you're streaming us on video, and we're just thrilled to have you here. So we are going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about sales processes.
Okay.
And ultimately, specifically related to buyers.
Okay.
And allowing people to buy in a way that they want to buy.
Okay.
I had an experience that shaped this episode. So we're going to talk about that high level. And then as usual, we always want you to have some core takeaways and core information. So we're going to be sharing really some tips for you, some questions you should be asking yourself as a business owner to ensure your sales process is modernized, right?
Okay. Yep.
Hey, how do I know we've got a good sales process or a tight sales process? Now, obviously, one way is if your sales continue to go up, but that's not the case for everybody. And you've got people who are growing, but possibly not growing at the speed that they could be.
Right.
And you see it all the time. You see, a lot of buy-sell activity takes place in Q4. So you see people coming into the new business, taking new ownership, and then you'll see something like, oh, great, we did $1 million for 15 years, Cory, and now John bought the company, and now it's doing $2 million, and nothing. Wasn't a new building, wasn't a new a clear thing.
Right.
It was processes and operations and maybe how you had people in the right place or the wrong place or the right people and the wrong people.
Right.
Oftentimes I see, particularly retail businesses, we were going by the other day and this business closed and I predicted it. Like that business was there to satisfy their lease as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Like they could, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Because I had early experiences as a customer and I just knew, I saw how they were running it. And then I saw how they responded to like reviews and things people had to say.
Okay.
And I just knew that it wasn't going to be a long run.
Right.
Now somebody probably could have come in. Now they'll blame the brand.
Okay.
Or the franchise, because that's the natural thing. Oh,
right.
There wasn't enough traffic in the mall or a shopping center,
right.
Or they didn't support us as a franchisee well enough, or
right.
people didn't love the product like they said they did. They'll say all those things. The last place they'll look is within,
right?
Right. That's the last place they're going to look, and that's probably the first place to look. In fact,
most of the time,
because if it works 72 other places, but doesn't work in your location, it might be you. So we want to talk about that because the sales process is important, right? Nothing happens in your business until something's sold.
Right.
Revenue is all connected to sales. You can have the greatest support staff, the greatest customer service staff, the greatest back end operations, but none of that matters if nothing's coming through the front door, right?
Right.
So we're going to talk about that. And so the springboard for this, Lon, is a sales pitch I got right before the holiday.
Okay.
And, again, you want a sales process. So when we say sales process, we think about, right, the steps in the auto industry. We call it the road to the sale, right? So, you want to talk about this. You want to build value, features, presentations, benefits, all that stuff. The challenge comes when your process potentially stunts sales with the wrong customer.
Okay.
Right? So I was going through a presentation. I was involved in the presentation because I was interested. I was cold solicited.
Okay.
It was a cold solicitation. Willie H., this was the thing you were supposed to be following on. I told you I went ahead and scheduled the presentation. So
yay.
He didn't know that was coming.
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
In there.
Yeah. So we were having the sales presentation. Now I was cold prospected, which is perfectly fine. Cold prospecting works.
Right.
As long as the prospect is interested, like if it's the right time. So what they were prospecting me on was something that I was mildly interested in, meaning I had a conversation internally about wanting to have a solution for this problem.
Okay.
I wasn't aggressively looking, but lo and behold, I'm being prospected.
Right.
Great. Let me go through the process. Website was but I said, still, let me hear what they have to say. So I went through the book of call, went through the process, got the guy on. And, many times, again, we have our slides we got to get through. We have our setup. And I think for most people, what you're doing when you're creating that sales process is you're creating what you believe to be the most concise way to lead them to the buying decision.
Okay. So the shortest amount of time to
buy.
buy.
I mean, that's we think about the sales process, right?
Right.
So what is the problem we solve? How do we solve it? Pain, show them the pain, show them the solution. That's what all that's about, right? Is we created, so whether you use a PowerPoint, whether Corey, I don't use PowerPoint. I like to draw stick figures you've seen
lots of different ways. Right.
So we were going through the process, and what do a lot of people want to know when they look at a product or service?
Oh, I guess they want to know what the investment is.
Bingo, exactly. Exactly. So they want to know what the investment is. So as he was going through the process, now again, your process also has to be reflective of your customer. So I'm not a layman in what we were talking about. So what he was sharing with me and going over with me, I didn't need 101.
Okay.
Right? Because I knew the baseline of the stuff he was talking about. So it wasn't, so taking those cues, I think a lot of people miss the cues that people give them. So I'm going to tee up the whole thing and then we'll jump into the conversation. Yeah. So we go through it. He's showing me a few things. And I didn't need to know that we were doing what we were doing wrong. I already knew that. Right. So, he was highlighting a few things. I'm like, yeah, great. That's why we're talking.
Right.
So I said to him, now only because I come from a background in sales, I said to him, and we're on a Zoom, and I said, listen, this is all great. I said, I'm going to need you to do something that I know you're not supposed to do. So I know you're supposed to do all this stuff and build value and show me all these different things. I said, what I need to understand right now is if this is within an investment range that I'm even willing to consider. I have no idea what your product or service costs. I don't know if it's ultra high ticket, what the barrier to entry is. So I'm going to tell you, you can do what you want to do. You can play this out however you want. I'm going to tell you the best thing for you to do is show me that information so I can check that box and get it out of my mind, and then you can go back to the other points you want to show me,
right?
Because you'll have my attention. Right now, you will have a limited amount of my attention because I am interested in what you're saying, but until I have relieved my mind of, you come back and tell me it's X, it doesn't matter how many features it has. I'm not going to make that investment for what I need to do.
Right.
Where my ROI is on the importance level of this.
Right.
But if you come back and tell me something like, oh, okay, that makes sense, proceed, now you have an opportunity.
Sure.
So he thought about it for a minute. He said, well, listen, he said, you're right. I'm really not supposed to do it this way. I'm not supposed to do that, but I got to pay attention. I got to pay attention to what you're telling me.
Right.
Because I'm going to be irritated for the rest of his presentation if he doesn't tell me what I want. Now, many people don't get that misconstrued, right? With the customer being I wasn't being a jerk,
right,
about it.
Right.
I was telling him what I needed for this meeting to continue in a positive way.
Okay.
And that's distinctively different than somebody who's an a-hole.
Yeah.
Okay. I say a-hole only so I don't have to put E for explicit on this episode, so we can keep it clean. So
right.
that's different than people who are being jerks or being D-bags about it. You know what I mean? That was just me saying, hey, here's how my brain works, here my mind works. I'm fixated on what this costs right now. So until you would tell me that and alleviate it, you're gonna not have my complete attention.
Right.
And so he followed the path. Now I didn't buy, but it wasn't because of that. It was just simply because I wasn't ready to make the decision at that point.
Okay.
It was fact finding and budgeting and understanding that.
Right.
But I can tell you for certain, if we move forward with that plan or implement that service, I'm going to call this guy and do some business.
Right.
And I wanted to set the stage for the rest of our conversation here and bring you in now, because so many people in the sales profession or the business owners or whatever do not or will not help their customers buy. That's just dumb. Willie H,
that was the
Willie H
most
good
perfect timing. Well done, Willie.
Yeah, because it is.
Yes.
So many people are so caught up in their sales process. Now, I want to qualify one thing because I'm thinking of a couple different scenarios because I don't want people to get this wrong. Allowing someone or taking cues from the customer has value. That doesn't mean you need to give up control,
right,
of the path,
right,
or control of the sales or control of the sales process, or do something that you don't want to do.
right.
A buddy of mine, he posts everything. Like as in sales, he'll post a text conversation with somebody or whatever, and the people wanted him. They didn't want to allocate the time that he said he needs. Like our product it's a 45-minute demo.
Okay.
To properly demo our product.
Okay.
And to understand what it is, how it works, and for me to share all of the things that it does so you have the correct information.
Okay.
They thought he should make an exception. Can't we just shorten it, and can he just give us the broad strokes or whatever? And he said no.
Okay.
He said that this is how long this is the amount of time I will need to. This product produces millions of dollars of revenue for our clients.
Okay.
And I need 45 minutes to properly explain to everybody. So you also know what you would be buying.
Right.
Also, and that's the time. And if you can't give me that time, then that's also probably a good indication that you are not our customer.
Well, you're not ready to make the level of investment required to move forward.
Right, and you're not our customer.
Correct.
Because, right, if you're going to shortcut the demo, you're going to tell me your people are going to take the time to actually learn the product and use it at a high level?
Right.
And then you'll blame the product when it doesn't work for you.
That's right.
And you will not want to entertain any idea that you set it up. So instead of letting you set it up wrong from the beginning just to have your way, and they said, amen. Like as in, yeah, we're probably not your client.
Okay.
Right? And that was great.
How much headache did that save everybody?
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes. It wasn't doing that subscription fee. He's not going to miss,
Right.
Because he's got 6 more demos that day that are going to give him the time that he needs.
Right.
That client, that potential buyer, he's got a unique technology that you can't just get from everybody down the street. He doesn't. It's not a commodity.
Right.
Where his tech stack. So what they will miss is the potential opportunity of 6 or 7 figures worth of growth.
Right.
By not giving the person the time they need to actually explain their product service.
Right.
That's just dumb. Yeah. We had to have a double. We had to have a double day. Yeah.
Right.
So what do you think? So now digest, because you haven't heard you didn't know anything we were talking about. So,
Correct.
So it's completely freestyle for you. What are your thoughts on this, and maybe how have you approached it in the past?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that, there's a lot of things that were involved in this example and these examples that you've given. The first and most important thing that you have to have, though, is a structured set of fundamentals that you work from, a process that you can rely on. And we'll go to sports. I go to sports all the time. If you ever listen to anything Kobe Bryant talks about, he spent the first half of his practice working on the fundamentals so that he could build on that and adapt as necessary. So you have to have a structured set of fundamentals. What that allows you to do is it allows you to adapt to your situation where you told the person that you were talking to in the sales call, look, for me to really be able to embrace and pay attention to what you're talking about full value, I need to know if I'm even in your range financially or even in your range from an investment standpoint. So if we can agree that and figure out that I'm in that range, then I can appreciate the value of it. Because if not, I'm not even listening to you.
Right.
So what having a structured set of fundamentals does is it allows the salesperson to say, okay, I've identified a way to do this differently. You say, okay, I'm still in. You can go back to your process. So what you've done is you've acknowledged that the client or the customer or the potential customer or potential client said, hey, I need something to be able to move forward. Right. And you gave them the opportunity to get that and then get back to your system or your process.
Right.
So for that example, what we've just discussed is that having a structured set of fundamentals gives you something to come back to. So even if you have to deviate, again, if you have to take a detour off a road, there's a sign that tells you how to get back on the road.
Right.
Fundamentals are like that.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of critical thinking.
Yes.
So I think that I fell in that category. So where I focus the back half of my career has been more on strategy. I was a trainer, like in that core end, particularly early on in my career. Right. That was the bucket I was put in. Right. You call Cory to come in and do training, right?
Cory delivers.
Yeah. So well, he did. I delivered. There's a lot of people out there making more money that I was able to pour into, thankfully, and allowed me to do that. But when you think about the training aspect, so much of training lacks the critical thinking. Right. They're given from a sales perspective, they're given so many things to do. Many times they're more focused on the process or doing the things than thinking through, is this the most effective process?
Right.
I want you to imagine for a minute, I watched a guy at a car dealership one time because he was taught, see a customer on a lot, go up to the customer, have a smile, extend your hand, welcome to the dealership, shake their hand. That was drilled into him.
Right.
I watched it, and I want folks for you to just put on your visual thinking cap for a second here and visualize. I want you to visualize that you've pulled up at a car dealership. Now, Lon, how far would you say typically a customer parking is from maybe the front door of a dealership? What would be maybe
20 yards, maybe 25 yards.
25 yards. Okay. So now what I want you to imagine now, and if I was parked a little further away, maybe double that.
Maybe double that.
So I've parked 50 yards away from the front door.
Okay.
I want you to visualize a guy right now. Now, if you're watching this video, you'll see this. I want you to visualize a guy opening the door. I'm at my car 50 yards away.
Right.
And he walks from the door all the way to my car with his arm out like this the whole way. I want you to visualize, guys, for you guys listening on the audio. Put your hand all the way out like you're extending a handshake. But now you got to walk 50 yards with your hand out.
Right.
How ridiculous does that look?
Right.
Right?
You mean the person didn't get back in the car and leave?
No, they didn't. No, he did it to me.
Oh, he did it to you.
Yeah, I took a friend to buy a car years ago. I went with a friend to buy a car. Willie H knows this friend. This is a mutual friend of ours. And I went with him to buy a car when I was in the car business. So it's like, you got to go.
Take your consulting.
And I watched this guy come all the way out with the hand. And I'm just saying to myself, that's all, because all he had in his hand was, all right, I see somebody, shake the hand, extend the hand, walk out.
Right.
So many people are so caught up in the delivery of their road to sale that they're not thinking through the practicality or impracticality of it.
Right.
And I mean, again, I speak a lot from the auto industry. You can speak for this from medical sales as well, right? In terms of you approaching doctors and these types of things. There's a way you have to approach that.
Right. And you have to adapt yourself to the situation, which is what you're talking about.
Yes.
If you're going to walk 50 yards, wait till you get to yard 49 before you extend your hand.
Well, it's just, right, of course, right? Or it's like, okay, great. Are you trading anything? No, this would be my first car. And then 10 minutes later, you ask me if I'm trading something in because it's on the sheet.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I told you that earlier, like in our casual conversation. Right. So, point one is, realistically, if you're now in this period, because this is the time, right in 2024, we're in January, this is the time where you want to have these conversations about everything being on the table. And if you didn't, a lot of people did planning in Q4 for Q1, planning in terms of, goals and structures and maybe dollars and cents and whatever we can spend dollars. But still, a lot of people get well into 2024 as they start to put some of these things on the table, right? They'll get in and say, okay, great, let me start fresh. So if you are looking to challenge yourself and ask yourself, hey, do we have the right sales process? Do we have some critical thinking? I want to give you a couple tips here. There's a bunch of them, but we're gonna get through. We're
gonna do episode one.
We're gonna be brisk.
Okay.
No, we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done. No two-parter today.
Okay.
All right. So number one, customer understanding.
Okay.
Right. And what we're saying here is, do you actually have a clear understanding? So many people don't know who their target audience is. They don't really actually know the needs. They know what their product or service does or is, but they really don't connect with that. So the question to ask, these are questions you should be asking yourself as a business owner as it relates to their sales process or your sales process. Do you have a clear understanding of the target audience, right? Is your sales process in alignment with their preferences and expectations?
Okay. So, and those two really run in parallel lanes, right? You've got to, when you know who your client or your customer is, then you can understand how they want to buy.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of talk about generational differences in whatever it is, in social media, in online activity, in personal engagement.
People that don't use the phone.
People that don't use the phone.
They're annoyed by talking.
Right. They have a phone as a texting device.
Right.
Or an email device. It's not really a phone. It also
makes phone calls.
Right. It happens to ring every once in a while.
Yeah.
But that's to your point though, right? If you once you identify your client, then understand how they want to buy, what they want the buying process to look like.
Right.
And that's what I think you're talking about.
And I think, what are those expectations?
Right.
I listened to a client. I was doing a pitch the other day, and I was listening to a client. And when we were talking about a company that they were working with that they were not happy with, which is one of the reasons why we may have an opportunity to do some business with them.
Awesome.
One of the things they stated was they don't understand the language of our customer, because it was a marketing conversation.
Okay.
Like they don't understand they don't understand the language of our customer. They don't understand the language of our customer. So clearly that service provider is not doing a good job understanding the language of of their customer's buyer.
Right.
So how can you be on the marketing side and how can you help your client talk to more of their ideal customers if you can't translate that as a service provider, if you can't get that done?
Well,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the basic element of, you've got to be able to communicate with people in a way that's going to resonate with them.
Right.
And language is the foundation of that communication.
Correct. You wouldn't use hockey vernacular talking about a football game.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So, if someone was like, well, how many baskets did they have? How many baskets did they have in the football game? What did the Dolphins How many, you'd be like, what are you talking about?
Right. Well, and for non-sports fans, let's reach out to non-sports fans. You walk into Greece speaking French.
Right.
You're not talking the language that they're going to understand.
Right.
Most likely.
Right. Correct. And that's the biggest giveaway. Right. And what I would travel, I would adjust. I would also, even within a genre. So even working with dealerships, I would adjust my vernacular based on where I was.
Correct.
in the Northeast, you would refer to gross profit. We'd say like G's, like, oh, it was a 3G deal.
Okay.
Right. So that's 3,000.
Right.
But if I was in Texas, that would be a 3-pounder.
Okay. Perfect.
That was a 5-pound deal.
Right.
Right. So you just adjust. But if you want, what's important here now, again, I'm going in the capacity of somebody's already been hired. So that check's already cleared.
Right.
So I'm not selling. But when you're dealing with an audience and you've got to get people to listen to you to affect change,
right,
you are selling because they got to buy what I'm selling to them. Right. Which is this technique or this strategy or why they need to communicate differently. So one of the quickest ways to I would adjust that vernacular and they would know, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, or he has some familiarity with us. Right. He didn't just, get off the plane and now is trying to tell us what to do.
Right.
So that's critical thinking.
Well, and here's something that we've skipped over, and I think it's worth revisiting. The sales process piece has to be natural. And what I mean by that, the way that it's natural for you is that you practice it.
Right.
So you can pay attention.
That's important.
You can pay attention because practice prepares you, right?
Right.
You can pay attention to other things when you have a foundation of practice and understanding of that process. You can deviate from it and get back to it when it's natural to you.
Well, it's a comedian. A high-level comedian can get interrupted by the crowd, deal with the person,
correct,
and then come back to a set.
Correct.
Right, or go on some other tangent, Matt Rife, guys like that, that don't know, they're crowd workers as comedians. They don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they have to turn that funny, in that situation. And then they can go back to their core content, right?
Right.
But you're bringing up something that's important because there's this long debate, scripts, no scripts, don't use script. Real salespeople don't need scripts. Real salespeople are very scripted.
Right.
Their technique is scripted.
Right.
Maybe not every word, but in many times it's that way too.
Well, it's at least structured.
And it's the practice that you talk about.
Correct.
That makes it sound unscripted. The problem with a script is if you're just trying to work the script and you haven't learned the script.
Right.
That makes all the difference in the world.
Well, working the script is awkward. Understanding and practicing the script makes it more natural to you so that you can pay attention to the other things that are going on that you need to see so that you can personalize that experience. Right. But again, it goes back to having practicing the fundamentals so that you can deviate from those fundamentals and get back to them.
Right. And knowing your audience.
And
I know I've said this for Willie H. I probably said this. Folks, there's going to be redundancy here just because these things are so, it's so 360. Like you can't get away from some of these topics. But I've told that conversation. Somebody asked me what a good orange juice is in the store. I know they're inviting me. I know they're inviting me to an Amway meeting. Right. Because they're taught these icebreakers, and these different things. So I'm like, what do you got?
Right.
What's going to make me rich today?
What's coming from me?
What's going to make me financially free today? Listen, I'm not knocking. Shout out to that. If you found a vehicle that works for you, I'm just making the point that you got to have the adaptability,
right,
and be prepared for that deviation, and then you bring them back around, right? So that guy could have been like, oh well. Just let me get through a few more minutes of the presentation. I'm happy to share price with you.
Right.
He could have said that.
Could have.
That would have been the wrong answer.
Well, it wouldn't have made it easier for you to buy.
Correct. It would not. Right. Correct. It would have just, again, my attention span would have been affected.
Right.
Because you have to identify, right? You have to identify what, because buyers are so different. So reassessing, do we get it? Do you get it? Do you know your demo?
Well, and if I can add to Cory, we talk about how to handle objections. Your specific example wasn't an objection. It was, hey, I need more information.
Right.
And so that's very, very different because that's an engaged potential buyer.
Yes, 100%. That's 100%. Value proposition. That's next. So, what? Why are you laughing? What?
We're gonna get them.
We're gonna get. No, you're not gonna. Yeah, you're not gonna stop the train. You're not gonna stop the train. So, value proposition, right? So, can you clearly articulate the value proposition of your products and services?
Right.
Right. You know, when we talk about some of our video content at work, right? We want thought leaders. Your thought leaders. Share your thought. Your thought leadership. Your expertise on video for the world.
Right.
Right. It's a very intentional message.
100%.
So the question is, does your value proposition articulate those products or services? You know, someone was talking to me about their product the other day, and I said, you know, what you're telling me doesn't match either what I see visually in the brand,
okay,
or what you say you do, or what the 10 customers you showed me, that they're like, it doesn't match.
Right.
There's something off in the value proposition. And I think a lot of people get wrong, you know, the problem they actually solve.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So I think that's an opportunity to look at in that value proposition to really ensure that you're addressing the pain points and the clear benefits. And I encourage people, if you're listening to this, oh, all right, well, value proposition, you know, nothing new there. Well,
right.
It's not that's new.
Right.
Like understanding your target audience. We're not breaking news here.
Right.
What we're saying is, do you have that nailed?
Right.
Is there an opportunity for you to grow? Podcast grow. Where is it? Is there an opportunity for you to grow based on re-examining what you think? And, you know, we've had these meetings. We've talked data before, right?
We have.
We've talked demographics, age group of our customers for some of our products and services.
Right.
We've talked commonalities in their work, in their job description, consultants, coaches, what they do, B2B services, because we make our next decision of who to target, who to target and who to prospect.
Right.
Waste less time on this segment and put more energy into that, because resources aren't infinite. So unless you're watching this and you're watching or listening to this and you're a Fortune 500 company that's got, you know, tens of millions of dollars in budget, the average small business owner does not. So they have to be intentional in what they do and where they put their dollars, right?
And those Fortune 500 companies are actually better at targeting and identifying their audience, often because they have the resources to get that information, right?
Yeah, big 100%. Data.
That's correct.
They've got all the data. So value proposition 3, sales funnel analysis. So that kind of goes to what we were talking about having some of that data, right? Have you looked at, are there bottlenecks to your sales process? You know, I clicked on somebody's book an appointment link and it was broken.
Right.
So if that happened to me, I mean, if that happened in now I'm not going to send them a nice note.
Right.
Saying, hey, I'm looking to book an appointment and your link is broken.
Right.
I'm going to move on.
Yes.
To potentially another provider.
Right. Unless you have some level of investment in that specific person,
right,
you're just going to keep going.
Or I could not do it.
Right.
You know, like, you know, right now we enjoy in an element of what we do, we enjoy a very interesting exclusivity.
Right.
Like some of the things that we do can't be duplicated in our immediate market, right, at this time.
Right.
So what does that mean? So that gives us a unique standing. So in that instance, if we didn't deliver and we didn't, you know, we weren't doing the right thing with our customers, or we weren't delivering and had happy customers, then there's people who just won't invest in some of the stuff that we do.
Right.
Right. They can't, you know, or they'll fly to, I don't know, the nearest state, maybe Atlanta or New York City or somewhere like that. But are there bottlenecks? Are there areas in terms of customers' ability to get to you? Is the button on your website 12-point font and buried in the bottom corner?
Right.
I showed somebody the other day, we were looking at web portfolios and we're talking about a project with them. I said, there are 9 CTAs on this homepage.
Right.
Call to actions. If you don't understand what we're trying to do here,
you're not for us.
Right. Right. I want to give, and the design of that and that structure as an example is about giving them information, asking them to take the next step.
Right.
You need more information? Keep scanning.
Right.
Give you some more information. Are you ready to take the next step?
Right.
Give me some more information. So, and people don't get that. Oh, that's too many, you know, so let's just have the one button in the top right. All right, there goes your conversion rate,
Right.
or the opportunity for conversions to plummet.
Right.
I'm going to send out 1 email a week to my retail customers. Good luck.
Right. Well, I mean, it's if we're operating from we'll use the word assumption or for the expectation that people want business,
Right.
and they want more business.
Sure.
So all the things that we're talking about are about
I
ways to
have been
get
told in my lifetime by someone, Cory, why would I want more business?
right. Not everybody does, whether they say it out loud or not. Not everybody wants more business.
Right. Crazy. Well, here's what I can tell you for certain. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you'd like more business. Right? So just folks, our hands are up if you're listening to this on audio.
As is Willie H's.
Yeah, Willie H's hands up, everything, right? Because that's a game changer for everybody.
Right.
So sales funnel analysis. Next one, customer feedback. Are you seeking and are you actively, let me put the word, see, that changes the conversation. Putting in, is that an adjective? What is that, a verb? What is that? If I put that in front of it, actively seeking versus seeking.
I think it's an adjective.
What is it, adjective?
I think so. It's adjective.
Somebody will correct us. Go ahead and post. You can tell us. So, but putting that action word,
right.
I'll leave it there.
There you go.
Putting that action word in front completely changes the dynamic of a situation.
Right.
Because I was going over someone's reviews. I said, you've been in business 25 years. You've got 5 Google reviews.
Right.
And
Lord have mercy.
That's good.
Perfect.
That's good. That's good. You've got 5 Google reviews.
Right.
And all 5 of them are 5 years old. So it looks like you have not done any business or good business for the last 5 years.
Mm.
And so if I was having a conversation about Google reviews, they might tune out because they'll say, oh, we have Google reviews.
Right.
Are they current? Do you have an active strategy? Every time I leave my manicurist, they send a thank you email and they ask for a 5-star review.
Awesome.
Do you have an active strategy? And that is that do not discount things that you think you do or did.
Right.
You've got to put an action item in front of them. Am I actively doing X, Y, Z? So in this case, actively seeking and leveraging customer feedback to improve the sales process.
Mm.
And what role does the information you're getting play in your adjustments?
Well, so 2 things. And are you getting reviews or are you asking for reviews?
Mm.
Because you can get reviews and you can just let them trickle in.
Right.
Or you can go ask for them.
Yeah.
And if you want them, you should go ask for them.
Right.
Now, the question you asked about what role does that feedback play? The idea is it goes back to, do you know who your ideal audience is? Do you know who your ideal target or your ideal client is? Because those are the people you want to ask for feedback. You want to ask the people that are your best clients, that are your best, that is your target client. Those are the people you want to get feedback from, because you don't want to change things for somebody that buys once a month that impacts somebody that buys 12 times a year. That buys once a week.
That's right.
So
that's right. When the church say amen. That's right. That's right. Folks, we're going ham on, if you don't know what ham is, look that up. We're going ham on our, what are those things called? Drops? Like little,
yeah.
What's the formal term for that? Something. Sound effects? Yeah, we're going ham with the sound
There
effects
awesome.
in 2024.
Right.
Go ahead, complete your thought.
Well, the thing really is it gets back to just make sure that the feedback you're getting is from the people you want feedback. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I love people who give feedback that aren't even the customer.
Correct.
Right? They're not even, this stroller, I don't like the design of it. Do you have any children? No.
Right.
Because here's the thing, everybody has that's one of the things I find, because now you know I get going. But that's one of the things that is so crazy to me when people do like crowdsource opinions.
Right.
I'm not saying I'll never do this, but I don't get it. Now, maybe it's for the algorithm and encourages engagement. But like I'll see people, hey, I'm picking a book cover. You've seen this.
Right.
Here are 4 options. What do you guys like better?
Right.
and you ask the general population. Now, I don't know if that's, can't speak for those people in particular. I don't know if that's part of how they make the decision.
Right.
Or if they're using that as a core to make the decision.
Right.
That's scary.
If that's the only thing you're using to base your decision
like,
on,
hey,
that's
my
very
new logo,
scary.
here's my new logo. What do you think?
Right.
Pick A, B, or C. And you've got people who can't even match colors. Come to work colorblind and have no style,
right.
or don't have an eye, like, which is an affront to the people whose profession it is to do branding or to do marketing, and that's their craft.
Right.
It's an affront to allow the general public to make a decision for your brand that they're not even the buyer.
Right. Shame on you.
I just, so, and I could be, I mean, I'm okay being, this is just my opinion and my thoughts.
Right.
I'm sure there's somebody out there. I see people do it all the time, and people I know and respect that do it all the time, or have books coming out and source that opinion. But again, okay, great. What's your credentials as a book designer or a logo developer or as a brand marketer and that type of thing, other than, this looks pretty.
Right. There's a country song that says good for some and not for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's good for some.
Right.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah. And it has to make sense. I don't know. I don't know. So, all right.
Now you're applying your logic to somebody else's situation, and that's not going to make any sense at all.
Yeah. That's definitely. I was told a long time ago, you can't have a battle of wits sometimes with unarmed people.
Perfect.
Right. So yeah,
perfect.
For sure. All right. Let's talk sales teams for a minute. So let's talk about you being in a position with a sales team, because a lot of times people, I think, get a false sense of the popularity of their product or service based on their sales. Okay. So like, great, okay, I'm not closing any business. We don't have a lot of sales. Maybe it's our product. Maybe our hamburger is not as good as we think it is. Right. When in fact it could be, of course, the sales process and presentation of that. Right. So when you look at, what are you looking at in terms of numbers, in terms of how effective your sale, if you have a sales team, you have people selling for you, what is that conversion? What is the conversion rate? Right. And is that conversion rate reflective of the salesperson's ability, or is it the process? And having that tweak, because you'll get put in that state. We've all been in that state. Like maybe something's not clicking. You're like, maybe I'm not good. Right. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Right. And you're like, okay, well, wait, let me go look at the sales process. Maybe I make some changes in the sales process, and we've experienced that, right? Correct. So maybe I'll make some changes in the sales process, and now I have, a different result. Correct. And I've even experimented, because there's a whole school of thought. I don't know who the original godfather of the strategy is, but Grant Cardone is the closest, the person I would cite, right, as offering this in his training, is the idea, particularly with price, is starting with the price. Oh, interesting. Okay. Hey, just so you know, everything I'm getting ready to talk to you about, so we get this out of the way, it's a $23,000 investment. Right. So now I'll tell you more. Right. But that's not the pitch. But like, it's taking that off, in that instance, taking it off the table. So the 800-pound gorilla is in there. Hey, everything I'm talking to you about today is a 1995 investment. Well, and depending on what you're offering or what's behind that investment, that's a way to pre-qualify potential clients. Sure, of course. And it's a way to say, you got to be insane. Great, I just saved 30 minutes. Right, right. Which is more valuable to me, right, than I'll take a snarky comment like, "Oh, this better be good then." Right, great, game on. Right, because that means that you have the ability to buy if it makes sense. Yes, and that's the, you're going back to the process. One, are you targeting the right people that have the ability to buy? Right. Two, do you give them the ability? Do you make it easy for them to buy? Right. And so, and Grant, we're using Grant Cardone's example. Yep. He makes it right up front. He makes it easy for you to self-select or deselect. Other thing there's a lot of things. A lot of things. And again, I don't want to get into a debate over whose techniques you like, but the other one that I like is, have you heard enough yet to make a decision? Because so people, again, whether you like that line or not, that goes back to my point that some people are so enthralled in getting through the process.
Right.
They could have had a deal in 30 minutes, but because their presentation's 60,
right.
they keep going, right? We call that talking past the sale too.
Right.
Or they talk themselves out of a sale.
Right.
So there's just those indicators. Now, it doesn't matter who you want to be your trainer or who you want to educate you. All I'm advocating is the idea that in the sales performance conversation, if you don't have the conversion rates that you think you should have,
right,
that speak to the quality of product or service that you have, then the assessment's going to be closing the gap.
Right.
What do we need to be trained on? What's in our pitch that may need to be adjusted or changed,
right,
to see that increase?
Well, and the way to do that is to clearly identify your sales process,
right,
and then look at each individual piece of it and see where the numbers change in the way that you don't want them to change.
This is really important. I don't want this to be lost. I don't want you tuning out if you're a solopreneur or if you have a small team, because you need to you've got to have that process too, more than ever. There's too many people freestyling their presentation.
Right.
Cory, just get them in front of me. I'll close them up. Yeah, that's a red flag. We're in the red flag society now. But so many times they're not specific at how they are getting into their deal, or how they're going through their process. Now they can critically think and move around, but they don't have the foundation or the fundamental of kind of how they start.
Right. Well, and if you don't have the next steps clearly laid out,
right,
how do you know how to get to what the next step is and how to get there?
Yeah, we're gonna, let's see where it goes. Let's brainstorm. Right. I don't know where you brainstorm at the end. Right.
But you brainstorm for more business.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't have anything formal prepared. I figure we just have a conversation. Now, that is a technique in itself. So I don't want to, I'm not poo-pooing that. Like that may be part of your sales process to have the unsales process. Like everything's got to be so you may have the unsales process.
Right.
But that in itself, right? No plan is a plan. It's just a plan that has nothing in it. Right. So,
well, the thing too is all these things that we're talking about, and I say this not knowing what's coming up on the rest of the list.
Right.
So if we get there, we get there. But the thing is, all of these things only work if you know who you're talking to and what matters to them.
Right.
And if you haven't identified that before you start your pitch, then this sales process, however valuable it is, you can't take them from one step to the next without knowing where they're trying to get to too.
Right. No, as usual, that's 100%. And again, it's thought starters, right? So the goal is I want people reassess. I mean, to me, the value here for us, a lot of ways is the learning, but to bring conversations to the table, even that you haven't rethought, you haven't looked at, and to allow you to go back and ask yourself some questions. Not always get all the answers,
right?
Because there's multiple answers, right? You line them up. There were. If I said, "Who's the best, sales trainer of all time?" We're going to get a multitude of different answers.
A lot of people,
right, and the debate may be personal preference, not actual body of work. Many of them are matched toe to toe for body of work.
Right.
Now it comes down to, you know what? I don't like that guy. He's too aggressive.
Right.
Or this person's too soft.
Right.
That's a weak approach. Weak as circus lemonade. So, all right. So the next two, I'm going to stack them now. This is how I'm going to stack three together.
This is how we move.
This is the secret of how we get it all done.
That's how we speed
so
up.
I'm going to give you a 3 stack now, right? So technology integration, competitive analysis, and conversion metrics.
Okay.
So technology, pretty simple. Are you leveraging technology effective, right? Are you scared to move to something new just because you've been on something for a while, right? Now, I deal in spectrums, right?
Right.
Far left is, Cory, I'm not willing to change anything. I've used this for 20 years and I don't care if there's advancement. Far right is, I change products and services every week.
Right.
Right. So you don't want to be on either side extended on that spectrum. But are you leveraging technology? And what are some things you can fill the gap or that technology can help you fill the gap. And I was having this conversation with a prospect where he was telling me some things that the previous company was doing for him. And as I looked at the list, I said, half of this list are things you can do for yourself that would probably take you and your team 30 minutes a month to do.
Right.
Now, it sounds good. I'm not trying to knock anybody else's business model, but it sounds good to just telling you all these things they're doing for their big retainer.
Right.
But in reality, you haven't updated this. You've been with this company 6 years, so you've been paying them 6 years.
Right.
You haven't really looked at what is now 6 years later that you could DIY or self-service to the greater satisfaction than what you think they're doing for you, because they're not doing what you think. Like, you've got this visual of somebody doing hard labor to accomplish this goal, and really you could knock it out in 10 minutes. Now, 6 years ago, maybe you couldn't.
Right.
But now you can.
Well, your business has evolved, the technology's evolved.
Correct.
Evolved, right?
And you just haven't paid attention to it. So, they've been having super high. They went from high margin to super high margin, because now they're using the thing that I'm telling you could use to do the thing that you're paying 6-7 times for. Again, I'm not knocking anybody's, as long as you're ethical and whatever, I'm not knocking anybody's business model. So technology, competitive analysis. So are you looking at strategy and tactics of the competitor? Right. We've talked about this in more detail in previous episodes. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but are you just staying informed? Do you know what's happening? Are your competitors, do they have some better technology? Do they have a better online ordering system that's smoother? That is now encouraging people to want to order more with them versus others. And then the last one is metrics, and I think these things go together. The things that indicate the success of the sales process, right? What are those indicators? Now, of course, money, dollars in bank transactions, right? But there's other things to look at, right? Employee retention, those different factors. So I've given you that whole. I hit you with a trifecta. Wherever you want to hop in.
Well, I think the key, Cory, to all three of those things, and really to everything that we're talking about now, is being aware of what's going on in your business, and sales are a key indicator of that. Sales are, don't wait till your sales are half of what they were last year, right, to figure out that something's going on. Keep an eye on what's going on in your business. Sales is important because it's the lifeblood of your business. And whether you're an individual, solopreneur, small business with 2 or 3 people, make sure that you have ways to continue to generate revenue. Right. And understand what's in your way. I call it removing barriers. What are the things that are in the way for you to be successful or for your clients to be able to buy from you?
What you said.
So pay attention to what's going on while it's going on instead of waiting for the outcome.
All right. We're down to the last 2. See?
All right. Yeah.
Now, will you believe that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're down to the last 2. How about that?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
If I would have told you, see, that's what I mean. If I said at the beginning, we've got 10, your eyes would have popped out of your head. I said it's 10, and we haven't hit it. We're coasting here. Yeah. So, thankful for our listeners. Last 2. 1, adaptability. Okay. And to me, if there was a word that needs to represent, I got a book. One of our clients sent out books to everybody, and it was the book, The One Word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's been out it's about 7 or 8 years old, but it's very powerful to drill down, that thing that you're always focused on. People are talking about core words for 2024. Right. And I think adaptability has to be on that list. Is your sales process flexible enough, which is how we started this whole thing. Right. Probably should have ended with this one, but how we started this whole thing. Is your sales process flexible enough to adapt to changing market conditions?
So, yes, we started with a version of this, and it goes back to, do you practice the fundamentals enough that they're natural so that you can adapt as necessary for individual circumstances as well as evolving greater circumstances that impact either your industry or your business directly? And that could be suppliers, that could be access to your customers. It could be changing economics in the city or the place that you do business. It could be a flood. You know, how are you setting yourself up to be adaptable? But in order to be adaptable, you have to have a foundation to adapt from.
Right.
You can't just be, well, I'll do this today and I'll do that tomorrow. You have to have a foundation of what you practice on a regular basis so that you can adapt as necessary and get back to your foundation as soon as possible.
Right. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. That might be a new one. Boom. Boom. Where's the clap? Give me some clappers.
I think we put Willie to sleep.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah. No, we don't. It don't take too much to put it. Says that low blood pressure, even keeled.
Yeah,
even
there
keeled. That's. I mean, listen. I think that was just more of the LG 007 voice of reason. The voice of reason. We have to capture that one.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the last one before we get out of here.
Awesome.
ROI.
Yes.
ROI. Do you have a clear understanding of the ROI from the sales and marketing efforts?
Yeah.
Right. What does that produce? I've looked at events, things of that nature over the past year, things we've invested in, memberships, things of that nature, and can now go, okay, great. Here's 7 deals that have one thing in common.
Right.
That's a significant, and those 7 deals generated X amount of dollars in revenue.
Right.
And because the math is not difficult, right? When you talk about cost per sale, that calculation, right? So I look at what is that membership cost? What was it cost to be a member? What does it cost to sponsor that? And now collectively throughout the year, that's trackable. Right. What did that equate to? So great. This created $72,000 in revenue. And you know what? It cost us $10,000 to do. Right. And I can do math at that point. That will tell me what did each of those deals cost me. Right. What was my cost per sale? And most people, people just don't look at that kind of stuff. Right. What does it cost? Just something is, inside our CRM, I think it's interesting where you can create, you create your products library of what you sell. And then it asks you, what the cost is. Right. I guarantee you, the average business owner, if I go into that system, they're not even going to have bothered to put that in there. Okay. They're going to put retail, and that's it. Right. And this is very prolific, and this is a big issue in professional services or services businesses. Right. Right, where we don't allocate time, where it's time for money and these different things. Right. So I go into a candy store, they know. Right. Because they've got inventory measures and inventory control. There's no inventory control on coaching. Right. Or leadership consulting. Right. Or keynote speaking. Right. Or even from our professional services, counseling. Right. You pay okay, great. I pay X amount of dollars an hour for my psychiatrist. Right. How does that psychiatrist equate? I guarantee you many of them, because not for nothing, I'm told in my experience that doctors are not the best business owners. Right. Right. But if you go in, okay, how do you look at your total operating costs and how do you equate that into? So what is an hour of shrinkage? What is an hour of somebody laying on your couch? Because we think about it. No, we harken back to the days, right? So you think about therapy as laying on the couch and telling your problems, right? When we have so many different ways to do that now. But what is that hour laying on the couch as the therapist? Right. What does it cost me to deliver my services in that hour versus what do I charge? Because that drives decisions. When people, there's a lot of business owners making emotional based decisions. Yes. Oh, this sounds like this can help me, or I'm going to do this. And then there's the other side. I've had conversations with people, well, what's the ROI on this? I don't know. Right. I don't know what it is. Here's what I do know. I know that you don't have this asset right now. So if we both agree you're better with this asset than without this asset, the conversation really should be how do you get it? Right. Right. We have a video conversation. You have 0 video. Right. Do we agree video is one of the most powerful tools in the marketplace? Yes. You have none. Right. what are we talking about right now?
Right.
Now, if the cost and the expense or whatever, but sometimes people get caught in the buzzwords.
Right.
My mother, what's the interest rate? What do you care?
Right.
You care about the payment, not the interest rate.
Right.
I don't want a high interest rate. So what?
Well, if you're paying, you don't have to pay. If you're paying,
Let me ask you a question. If the interest rate was 25%, but it was the payment you wanted, as an example, it's still in your budget.
Right.
So like, because people love those hot button. They love to say words and not necessarily put the thought behind them or why you're asking or what the real origin of that question is. So I'm just encouraging everybody to look at that.
Right.
And have an answer. I know exactly what it costs to produce 15 minutes worth of content on our network.
Okay.
From editor, our videographer, the overhead, commissions.
Right.
I know exactly what it is.
Everything that goes into it.
Right. And I had to do that once.
Right.
So folks, we're not talking about adding a 20, but that also guides decisions.
Right.
That guides decisions if you're going to get more aggressive in taking deals, if you're going to run a promotion, if you're going to run, whatever that is.
Right.
If you're going to do a loss leader, if you're not, if you can invest in sponsoring something.
Right.
When you go to calculate that ROI.
Right.
Because the ROI calculation isn't simply what did I spend and what did I get back.
Right.
Because you have to understand ROI to then leverage it.
Right. Well, I think the whole underlying premise of this is one, being willing to make investments.
Yep.
And then understand what they do for your business. And it goes back to, are you investing in things that are going to get you closer to the people that are more likely to buy from you? So you've got to understand who's going to buy from you. And we'll take, money off the table for a minute and just talk about target audience, right?
Right.
If you're a business trying to reach other business people and you're using social media, your best bet is going to be LinkedIn because that's where your people are.
Right.
If you're trying to reach another audience, maybe it's Facebook because they're on Facebook, or maybe it's Instagram or TikTok.
Right.
But you want to start with where your people are. And this is what's coming back to when you talk about the return on investment, understanding that what you're getting for this investment, really what that tells you is, are you going to the right place and trying to attract the right people?
Right.
And by understanding who your ideal client is, it guides you and makes it easier for you to invest in things that are going to increase that return.
There it is. That's all we got, folks. What if we just stop? like the recording just ends now. Like, all right, we got it done now. See you next week. And then like people were like, what happened? Did Willie H mess up?
Right. Did the power go out?
Did the power go out? Yeah. That's all we got. Mic drop. I mean, that's all we have to say. But no, I think I think there's a lot of thought starters there, and go back, re-listen.
Right.
But that truly is all there is today, folks. And I think we poured a lot out, give you a lot to think about, some specific steps to take action on, literally asking yourself these questions that we covered, and continue to create value. So I always like to end where we thank you. Thank you if you made it to the end of the episode. We want to thank you for your listenership, your viewership. We encourage you, most business owners know other business owners. Right. So we encourage you to please share this. We love the reviews. Keep the 5 stars up. We're still learning. We're still doing some things. We've got a format that, we think is working. We're going to continue to pour into people. And Lon's here. Willie H is here. We had a good time today as usual. This is the Grow Business Podcast. It's been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. I'm Cory Mosley, and who are you?
I'm Lon Graham.
Lon Graham, LG. Oh, go ahead.
LG 007.
LG. I got him to do it. So he was resistant in the past. But we love having you, and we will be back next week for another episode. Willie H., take us out. We start like get our Rogan on.
There you go. Exactly. You got a spot in the corner over there.
We got a spot for a live DJ. DJ such and such.
Exactly. We can do guest spots, right? There's some local DJs. We can do some guest spots. For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
We're out.